Alright, so I'm going to start a series where I give my reasoning for each Eastern Conference team as to why or how they can actually advance to the finals. Now, I'm going to be doing this for the Eastern Conference, not the Western Conference, just for the sole fact that I think the Eastern Conference is more open, and I think it's more competitive than the Western Conference. Now, while the Western Conference may be tougher, there's only really two teams in the Western Conference that I think can advance to the finals, but in the Eastern Conference, I think there's multiple teams in the Eastern Conference, maybe like 4 or 5 teams in the Eastern Conference that can actually advance to the finals. So for this one, I'm going to be doing the Sixers, and the Sixers are currently, I believe, the 6th seed. They were the 6th seed before the season abruptly ended. They were kind of going off the rails. Joel Embiid was injured. Ben Simmons had the back injury and was scheduled to be out for a long time. Al Horford was not playing good. The team was not playing good. So yeah, that break probably really helped them a lot in a lot of areas. They didn't have the best chemistry at all. They were still learning how to play with each other, and Brett Brown was still learning how to adjust Al Horford and Joel Embiid be on the court together, and really, trying to form a lineup that can be successful together. And even halfway or even 75% through the season, Brett Brown still did not find that lineup, or did not find the key to the Sixers being successful, because Al Horford and Joel Embiid would still having issues. I mean, the team still didn't really know how to play together with Al Horford and with no spacing at all, really. And there's a lot of people you can blame it on. You can blame it on Ben Simmons' jump shoot or lack thereof. You can blame it on Brett Brown. You can blame it on Joel Embiid's laziness at times. Al Horford being washed. I mean, let's be honest. So there were a lot of factors, but with this break, now I know every single team is rested, because I've heard some people try to say, oh, this team is going to have an advantage because they are rested, while the truth is every single team in the NBA is rested, so that's an advantage that every single team, not just one, has. However, I think when you look at the Sixers, and with Ben Simmons being injured before the season, when the season ended, Ben Simmons was injured, Joel Embiid was out of the lineup, and the team was struggling. I think that this sort of hiatus can be helpful for the Sixers in multiple ways. And one, helping Brett Brown, helping the whole team, the players, the front office, the coach Brett Brown, just helping the team reassess itself and to, get closer to each other, because I've read reports that over this break that the Sixers have actually gained some chemistry off the court and Zoom meetings and etc. They have actually gained chemistry, got closer in many ways, and that's helpful. That is helpful. That can't be understated. And not only that, just having a fully healthy lineup is of course helpful, because without Ben Simmons, they would have probably lost in the first round. Without Joel Embiid, they would have lost in the first round. So of course, having a fully healthy lineup, of course, that's always beneficial. Of course, that's going to be beneficial. But with everyone rested, and I know every single team is rested, but with the Sixers being rested, we know what happens in the playoffs. With the Sixers, Joel Embiid sometimes, catches a sickness or gets kind of lazy or gets fatigued, or Ben Simmons gets fatigued. I mean, this team can suffer a lot of issues in the playoffs, as we've seen in the last couple years. And with this break, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are both hungry. If you stayed up to date with their Instagram or their social medias, you can see that they're really hungry. They're in the gym every day. So I don't think fatigue is something that you can worry about with the Sixers anymore. I think, of course, with that break and with them having the opportunity to get closer to each other as teammates, because there's people like Glenn Robinson, Alec Burks, there's a lot of people who still, don't really know how to play with each other, because we just recently traded for Glenn Robinson and Alec Burks. We just got Al Horford, and we still don't really know how to insert Al Horford into the lineup, because before the season ended abruptly, Al Horford was actually coming off the bench as a sixth man, and I believe Furkan Korkmaz or Glenn Robinson was the one that was in the starting lineup. And I believe with this time off, it is the sole responsibility. It's the sole responsibility of Brett Brown to figure out this lineup. With the time off, I think he's had enough time off over these last couple months to reassess the Sixers team, to see what lineups they think they can work with the most and will lead them to the most success. And if that's not the case, then Brett Brown needs to be fired, because there's been way more than enough time to do that. Sixers may be good, but you know, are they good enough to beat the Bucks? Are they good enough to beat the Celtics? And my response to that is yes, they are. They beat them in the regular season. I believe they're 1-1 against the Bucks this season. I believe the Sixers can compete with the Bucks, especially when they're fully healthy now, especially when they're hungrier than ever now, and especially when the gap between the Sixers and the Bucks in terms of talent isn't that far away. It's not that wide of a gap. Now, of course, the Bucks are probably a better team, but like I said, with all these teams coming back, with all these teams taking that break off, I believe that kind of, for all teams in the NBA, in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, I believe that kind of shortened the gap between teams in the NBA, especially in the Eastern Conference. Teams like the Bucks, the Celtics, the Raptors, the Sixers, the Heat, I believe they're all on similar playing fields now. I believe they're all in the same tier in terms of talent, in terms of skill. Now, of course, the Bucks may have, of course, with having Giannis, that's of course always going to be an advantage. But when you look at the whole entire Sixers team and the whole entire Bucks team, you cannot say you would be surprised if the Sixers still a series. You would not be surprised if the Heat still a series. You would not be surprised if the Celtics steal a series from the Bucks. Now, like I said, that's going to be different in the Western Conference, because people would be surprised if the Pelicans beat the Lakers or if the Grizzlies beat the Clippers. I mean, if any of those top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference beat each other in a series in the playoffs, I don't think anyone would be surprised. Now, of course, that might not have been their prediction, but I don't think they would be surprised, especially after this break that we just had. Those are all the ways that I think the Sixers benefit from this break. I believe every single person on the Sixers are hungrier than ever. They've beaten the best teams in the regular season, so they know they can go toe to toe with any team in the NBA. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.